Gorillaz was built on the foundation of removing the face of music. Instead of labeling each track with the different artists and producers featured, it was covered up by the fictional front of the band, Murdoch, Tootie, Russell, and Noodle. Not only did this simplify what was really just a huge collaborative project, but it added a new aspect to showmanship in music by using animation to further push the illusion. Having kept up with the band for each studio album, there's no denying that I was excited when Humanz, the next Gorillaz album, was announced. The tribute to the cover of Demon Days had me theorizing that Gorillaz would sort of return to its roots with this album, especially after the awkward release that was The Fall. So the album comes out and I listen to it. And it's awesome. So it's a good album. But is it really a good album in the same way that I use good to describe previous Gorillaz albums? Well, not exactly. Before we get into that, let's look into what made the previous album so good in the first place. The first two albums in Gorillaz' discography are highly regarded as their best, and for good reason. Not only do none of the songs clash with each other, but I can also picture each member from the band in pretty much every song. For example, in the song Kids with Guns, I hear Noodle on the guitar and on the Push It Real backing vocals, Murdoch on the bass, and of course Tootie on lead vocals. And in Rehash, I can hear all four members of the band. These two songs out of many prove that you really don't need the music videos to imagine the band performing. If anything, they serve more as guidelines of sorts. Now, let's compare that to the track list in Humanz. I can definitely hear Noodle on a few tracks, like in Moments, screaming "Plastic on the Ceiling," and the garage rock vibe of Charger could allude to her on the guitar. 2D is on every track, of course, performing the choruses for most of the album, but there's clearly something missing here. Where's Russell and Murdoch? Off the top of my head, I couldn't think of any songs with the two, so I gave Humanz another listen, just to see that I was right in the first place. Russell is replaced by a drum machine for the whole album, not concerning songs without drums, and to take Murdoch's place is a bass synth. It's certainly a slap in the face to those who love Gorillaz because of the animation aspect of it. Now, don't get me wrong, it has been 7 years since the last Gorillaz album, and maybe the animated members of the band learned their way into digital music production. But man, is that boring to imagine. Would you really want to see Noodle turning some knobs over her playing the guitar? And no, I'm not considering the countless promotional artworks released as presents. That's like if Maroon 5 posted a ton of pictures of all the bandmates in promotion for a new album, just to have Adam Levine produce and sing every song. Seemingly to cover up the missing band members, there's a ton of guest appearances. There's a featuring on nearly every track. Of course, this isn't anything new for Gorillaz, and it was even applied in my favorite albums by the group. The difference is that in previous albums, the guest artists were used to further the aesthetic of the album. While it's very obvious that these artists all have a similar mindset, none of these artists suit the entire spooky vibe I thought the album would go for. You hear Ascension, a high adrenaline beat with an up-tempo flow provided by Vince Staples.
The sky's falling, baby, drop that ass for it crash. The sky's falling, baby, drop that ass for it crash.
It leaves you aching for more of this weird, acid alternative world that Humanz could be. But right after you hear Strobe Light, this weird, funky pop beat with vocals by Pevin Everett. Not to call him out, or even the song, Strobe Light happens to be one of my favorite songs on the record. Most of these songs are just fine, in fact. But they're just fine in their own little worlds. They don't at all belong together on an album. Just the name of the album and the music video for Saturn Spars had me thinking this album would be about existentiality in a world of chaos. Sadly, I only get this vibe from a few of these songs, and the other songs just seem like singles that Damon Albarn produced with a bunch of rap artists. But let's make this clear. It's not at all the guest artist's fault for killing the aesthetic of this album. It's Damon Albarn's fault for a lack of an aesthetic. At the end of the day, Humanz is a product of miscooperation, despite that not being a real word. Amongst hype and countless promotional art that led us to excitement, we received an album that didn't really coincide with it. It seems as if Damon Albarn was so into collaborating with other artists that he forgot he was making a Gorillaz album. The end product? An awkward album that doesn't seem like Gorillaz at all. So, for the sake of this never happening again, I hope it takes a little while before the next Gorillaz album, just to give Damon an album some time to know what he's doing. Because as we know, when he knows what he's doing, that's when we get the real good stuff.
Charm a little rapper with flows whiter than Casper, vividly slaying villains while diddly picking Flanders. Picking the answers, 20 or 10 chances. Green monster mosh pit greener than sea cactus.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you liked the video, then please leave a like. And of course, I'm always open to discussion in the comments. If you want to watch a video regarding the political aspects of the album, check out my friend Zeepster's video.
Give me a mic and a crowd full of babies. I redance back to swapping A grades for goat cheese.